Well, hello, NFT NYC community. Very looking forward to this conversation, and we'll get right into it. Violetta, you're coming to us from Nashville. I know that you're originally from Italy, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen so everybody can see the two of us, and we can jump into our conversation. So,
Perfect.
Can you please tell us a bit about your experience being an NFT musician? I know you just jumped into this world less than a year ago, but you've had incredible success. So congratulations on having the market respond so well to these innovative things that you're doing as a musician. But for folks that don't know much about you, can you tell us a bit about your background, please?
Yeah, 100%. I am an Italian musician, professional singer-songwriter for about 9 years. I am in my late 20s, and yeah, music's just always been my job. And last year, I got to a point where I was just looking for new inspiration and just a new way to deliver my music. Kind of tired of the Web 2 ways, and I found NFTs through my mom. Believe it or not, she knew about NFTs before I did, so she suggested I looked into it. And since then, I've just been completely immersed in the Web3 and NFT world. And I have been releasing music NFTs ever since February, sold out 2 collections, and yeah, just kind of trying to represent the music NFT space as good as possible, because I really believe it's going to be game changing for the music industry.
Yes, well, I agree with you. I think a lot of people do. Your second project was a generative project called Moonshot. Can you tell us a bit about that? Because that was your second try at kind of approaching this. I think you and I were talking, your first project, you just used OpenSea's traditional contract, but talk to us a bit about the second project, Moonshot, because I think it opened up and brought a lot of new fans to you that maybe hadn't known about your music beforehand. And so I think that was a unique experience for you. Tell us a bit about that.
Oh yeah, 100%. So with Moonshot, we decided to kind of merge the concept of like a small niche music NFT collection and, a bigger PFP project, which seemed to be like the most popular way of delivering NFTs in Web3. That's where the majority of people in the NFT space are, like they're in PFPs. So I thought, why shouldn't a musician do the same thing? Just be extremely creative. It's just a new way of like expressing your creativity. We've always had to come up with artwork ideas as musicians. So just like, do it exponentially. And so we decided to build a collection of 2,500 unique pieces based off of 5 different songs that I had previously recorded. So it's like a full-on EP, and there's 500 NFTs for each song, but every NFT within the entire collection is unique. They're all different from each other. We started from 5 base artworks that actually my dad, who's a Disney artist, drew. He hand drew the whole collection. Wow. So we started from 5 basic artworks, and then we generated 2,500 different ones with all the different traits. And yeah, we had like rarity structure, different tiers that represented different utilities and kind of access from the community to the artist and like behind the scenes and just like, free mints and stuff like that. And that allowed us to really expand our collector base from like 15 to 900 pretty much in only the space of a couple of months. So right now we have almost 140 ETH in secondary volume, which is pretty big for a music NFT project. They always said music NFTs don't really have a secondary trading, but actually they do. If you do it with a generative in a generative way, yeah, you can do it. But still, the music is very organic. So that's how we approached it, and that's how I think, unless you're doing one-of-ones, if you want to expand your fan base, your community, that's how artists should approach their music NFT projects.
Royalties and an artist making income has always been difficult. I think you've had unique success as you've been a professional musician making a living from it. But something different about NFTs is that it allows the audience to participate in the benefit of success. So share a bit about your perspective in terms of how does an NFT that a fan of yours, that they acquire that, how does that change the dynamic, not just with your relationship with them, but also their relationship with your success specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the first time, maybe ever, with music NFTs, the community, the music lovers, supporters, and investors can participate in the artist's success without having to draw money from the artist's like Web2 royalties, which
Right.
by the way are minimal. Like I was never able to make a living off of my Spotify royalties. So the thought of splitting those $200 a month that I make from Spotify with 900 people is just ridiculous, right? But with NFTs, I provide them with a valuable artistic asset. And as I grow as an artist in Web2, in Web3, in real life, and that's the power of music artists, because you're not just relegated into Web3. Music can be used anywhere, everywhere, in millions of different ways. So you as an artist have many different ways to branch out and grow. And as you grow, these 900 people hold a piece of your career. They're stakeholders. And as you grow, those assets become more valuable. So I've actually seen, someone in my community, I dropped a one of one that I sold for 3.75 ETH back in February. And someone won it in a raffle. The person raffled it up, someone won it, and that person that won it sold it for 5 ETH 2 weeks later. So, like, that's a kind of profit that, like, you would never make. Music is not just a commodity anymore with music NFTs. It's like something you can actually profit from and you love. You're not investing in something that you're like, oh, I don't really like it, but it's gonna maybe make me money. Even if it doesn't make you money back, you still invest in something you love, and you are incentivized to actively participate in the growth of the artist as a community member because you're gonna get a return eventually in the future. So
Yes. When you think of if other artists come to you and ask for your advice, right? You're in Nashville right now, you're often in Berlin. So those are both, music communities. You have others come up to you and say, hey, it's amazing what I've seen happen. And they're ready to drop a single or an EP or an LP. And they ask you about utility. Like, what utility should I put in this, if anything? What is your thought on NFT utility as a musician? What do you think should always be considered? Is there anything that should always be off the table? Can you give us some insight on that regard?
yeah, I think I personally really don't support the passive income through Web2 royalties, like I mentioned, because um, artists are already providing a lot of value to the community by giving them a participation in their company, basically through these NFTs. So any other like external, even small income that the artist can get to grow, resources to grow, I think should be kept with the artist because it's really pennies. So it's more the paperwork than anything else.
Right.
That's something I don't think I'll ever really do. But in terms of utility that I provide, I think artists should realize first thing first, music is utility. Because it's something that a lot of other projects don't have.
Right.
People use music as therapy, as just like company, it's something that touches people emotionally. So that's already human utility that will never disappear. Also, you can just like treat your community as your VIP fans, so to speak. We want to use Web2 terms. I do Zoom concerts every Friday for my community, every Friday, no matter what. I let them come to the studio. A few selected of them come to the studio with me when I do my records. I give them free tickets for a lifetime to all my concerts with the plus
Wow.
one. I give them access to my vinyls, my posters, depending on which NFT you have. Of course, if you have rarer ones, you get more utility. But that's the kind of thing that I provide on top of just like free mint, access to new music prior to the official release. And yeah, access to in real life events, part of being part of this like exclusive musical club and world. And honestly, I've seen people just really appreciating being able to um, experience being part of the music community when you're not a musician yourself, but you love music. So anything, artists are used to undervalue themselves, and people that don't make music really do value music and art. So anything that you can come up with, even if you think it's not valuable to you as an artist, it's normal. It might not be normal for someone else. So yeah, just be creative with it, I would say.
I love that. Well, any musicians out there, this is a time to pause the video, rewind a couple minutes, and listen to that a couple times. How about your thoughts on musicians being doxxed or not? So if a musician comes into the space, maybe they're not successful and they feel like if I'm anonymous, then it gives me a crack at people might think, oh, who's that? Or maybe they are a global success. They're an A-list music celebrity and they go, maybe this is not going to go well. So if I don't tell people who I am, so what are your thoughts on a musician coming into the space, authentic, vulnerable as they are, they're human, as you have done, compared to others, like an example, like Spotty Wi-Fi, right? People obviously have seen him on stage, but he has kind of that element where he's, not really known by his name. So do you have any thoughts on that or advice regarding that for other musicians?
Yeah, I think it really depends. I'm all for having like a persona, like a Web3 persona, for example, like Spotty. He's a really good friend of mine, and but he is doxxed, really. Like
He is,
he's like
right. He's
halfway,
he's
like you
halfway.
see him
That's
in,
a good way of putting it.
yeah, you see him in person. He tells you his, like we were in NFT Nashville actually this past weekend together, and
Right.
he publicly told his full on story. He told us what he graduated in at university. It's like we know everything about him. We might not know his real name, but you can kind of figure it out, I think, pretty
Right.
easily. But he has a persona. He used this CryptoPunk, to create this
Yep.
this character, and so that's a very Web3 thing to do. But I think generally it's good for an artist to be doxxed, especially if it's like your actual job, because again, when a community member, an investor is investing in a musician, they're not just relying on their Web3 success. They're
Mm.
relying on them being committed for the rest of their life to their passion.
Yeah.
So I think actually music NFTs are a very good investment, because you know for a fact that it comes out of passion, and in 40 years time I'll still be here making music. It's not a
Right.
project, it's my lifetime roadmap. So
Yeah.
actually showing people, I've made many records. I've been in movies as an actress. Showing people I'm legit, I think, is a guarantee that they should have when they're thinking about investing money in it.
Yes. Well, I'm glad that you jumped on. We're really looking forward to having you come share at NFT London, which is
Me
happening
too.
November 3rd and 4th. That'll be wonderful. I have a question on as we wrap up. If you could have any piece of technology created, like if you could snap your fingers and all of a sudden this thing exists, what would you love to see exist for you and for other musicians that would solve a current problem that you're facing in this, industry?
Um, that's a really good question. One thing I've been thinking about recently, and maybe they've done it already, but I'm not sure. It would be cool to have a way to provide passive income to the NFT holders through streaming of the NFTs. So
Mm.
kind of cut out Web2 DSPs, like, distribution platforms like Spotify, but allow people who may not be able to afford an NFT to still listen to the song through that NFT, paying a monthly subscription, and then split kind of those revenues between the NFT holder and the original artist, like you do on OpenSea. Fractionalizing that streaming income amongst the community that holds that NFT. So I'm thinking, how do I provide passive income to my holders through my NFTs and not through the Web2 distribution?
Right.
They might have done it already. I'm not too sure. I haven't done the research, but it's been in my head for a couple of months. So who knows? Maybe one day.
I know some people are working on it. I
Good,
think a little
good.
bit of an administrative lift on doing that well. And it's certainly somewhere that we're going to land on. But it's good for me and for others that are tuning in to kind of hear, hey, here's something that would be really, really helpful.
Yeah,
Um, I'm so glad that you jumped in. Looking forward to seeing you
me
in
too.
a month and a half. And for anybody that's watching our conversation or sees this later, thank you for your attention, for being part of the community. I guess the final thing maybe you could share with us is if somebody wants to check out Moonshot, your most recent NFT project, where can they do that? And is there another project coming up in the near future?
Yeah, 100%. So you can check out my Moonshot music NFT collection on OpenSea. Just type in Moonshot by Violetta Zironi and you'll find it. And I have a new collection coming up at the top of next year. So probably around January time, maximum February. If you hold a piece from the Genesis collection, you're going to get a free mint from the next one, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. for as long as we're gonna make music NFTs. So yeah, check me out on Twitter. I'm always there performing live on Twitter Spaces. So yeah, and see you in London.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here, and I look
Thank you
forward to
so
seeing you.
much.
All right.